Welcome to Tenby in the Pembrokeshire Coast National Park, a beautiful setting on the south coast of Wales that for the last 3 years has played host to one of the toughest editions of the toughest mass participation triathlon series in the world. It's IRONMAN Wales. Now, it's almost 1,000 years since a small number of Vikings settled in these parts, but even they would have been reluctant to put themselves through the test that 1,850 triathletes have signed up for here. Pembrokeshire provides a real test. And just about the only things that are flat around here and on this course, the occasional bike tyre and occasionally the sea. But even today, there's a little bit of a swell running. Former Royal Marine Paul Hawkins is one of those heading to the beach for a 7 a.m. start.
Having an Ironman on in your own country is pretty special. And Tenby is, it's a real different course to anything else I've ever done. The town really get behind this course, and the atmosphere is quite something else. It's electric. I love it. I really enjoy a real tough, challenging course, and Tenby doesn't disappoint.
Fraser Cartmel won the Scottish and British middle distance titles this year, and despite his experiences last year, he is proven over the longer distance.
Well, last year I raced here, but unfortunately didn't finish the race, which wasn't a great day for me. And I definitely thought, right, I'll be back there next year and give that a proper go. So here I am, and very much looking forward to getting around this stunning course, because it really is beautiful. Very challenging. Sea swim's always hard, and the bike's up and down and lumpy. I like that. So that's a really good portion of the race for me anyway. And then the run. Well, that's what makes this race as tough as it is, because it's hard.
Hundreds of the competitors here are local, but there is definitely an international flavour. Nick Baldwin, one of the pros racing today, has come all the way from the Seychelles.
Definitely going to be very challenging. Everyone knows that. It's renowned for being difficult with all the hills, especially on the bike, but the run's going to be tough as well. It's going to be good to be able to challenge yourself over such a tough race, and yeah, excited to undertake the challenge.
Carmarthen Bay, the site for the first discipline, 2.4 miles of swimming. The elite, the pros, get a 50-metre advantage, starting with the orange caps. The rest of the field will be chasing behind in the green. And this is one of the great sights in sport anywhere in the world. Now it's a double loop for the swim, with an Australian exit halfway through that would normally go round Ghoska Rock, but because the tide is so low, they'll be cutting just a little bit short of that. And the time expected for the best swimmers, just under 50 minutes. There will be those who will be in the water for at least 2 hours. Well, the pros going off very fast as expected. Ollie Simon is one of the favourites for this first section. Nearly always features here, doesn't always finish the course, and he's already had a very busy season. So we'll keep an eye on him. Ollie Simon, Fraser Cartmel and Ildefonso all up there with the leaders. So the leader after the first loop is Peru Alfaro San Ildefonso from Spain. A superb swim, and he's left just a few metres between himself and Ollie Simon. Back out into the waves for the second time. Another 1,900 metres to go, or 1.2 miles, whichever way you like it. And the fastest on that first loop, taking just over 24 minutes. So they're still on for a sub-50 swim, which in these conditions is superb. Well, as the swim comes to a close, the gaps between the leaders getting bigger and bigger. And already they're starting to close in on some of the age group athletes. And it's Ildefonso of Spain who is the first across the beach and then up the long ramp that leads into the town of Tenby. Incredible support considering it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning. Ildefonso thinking about what he's got to do. Ollie Simon, for once, is not the first out of the water. And I wonder how that will affect the rest of his race. Into T1 for the leading Spaniard. Good solid start from him. Ollie Simon stripping off the wetsuit early, a good move. And here come two of the chasers, Troutman and Cartmel. It looks already as if Cartmel has decided to match Troutman, and they just get a view of the race leader heading out of transition onto the roads. 112 miles around Pembrokeshire. This is one of the toughest bike courses you will find in any triathlon anywhere in the world. Ollie Simon just taking his time as he mounts the bike. He's had a lot of success here in Tenby in the past. Another good swim from Simon, not quite as quick as he was 2 years ago, but the conditions very much rougher than then. And here is the leading female pro, Amy Forshaw, who was 10th woman out of the water, but she's made up an enormous amount of time and 6 places by the time she's left the transition. And that leaves Heike Funk of Germany, who is the leading overall woman at the moment. Really good swim from Funk, and she's good on the bike. Question is, what will she do on the run? It's a long way down the road. Forshaw, high cadence and a big smile on her face, obviously feeling very comfortable at the moment as we switch to the leading man, Ildefonso of Spain, being chased by Cartmel of Scotland, and Matt Troutman behind him, a man who's recently turned pro, so now he has to make a living.
It's my first year racing pro, so I mean I don't have too many expectations, which is quite nice. But yeah, I've been working my way up the ranks, and yeah, just looking forward to the race. Really, not too nervous.
A very relaxed attitude from the South African, and that's just the sort of approach you need for a race of this intensity. And a long way behind the pros, the age groupers, or some of them coming into the first transition having completed their swim. And there is Richard Webster, former international rugby player for Wales and the Lions. Now he's had knee surgery, and so doctor's orders are to do the run with crutches.
3 years ago I was told, right, we're going to replace your knees, that's the end of them. You know, give up work, retire, you're finished. So you know, my wife started doing a triathlon, she inspired me, and I just developed a way of running and lost 4 stone, my knees have got better, and it's just a way of taking the weight off.
Well, it's not going to be just a case of finishing today, because Richard Webster has competition from a former teammate and his scrum half, Andy Moore, who's also racing.
I played with Richard as well, so it'd be nice to catch him up at some point on the course. But fantastic effort from him. Obviously, he was one of the bigger lads playing rugby, and as you say, rugby players not the great shape for triathlon, but we keep going.
Well, there should be a little bit of competition between those two, and I suspect that Webster will be much quicker on the downhills. Andy Moore should be able to make up a bit of time on some of the big climbs around Pembrokeshire. Well, this has become one of the features of IRONMAN Wales. The phenomenal support that turns out year in, year out. And every year they find a different way to enjoy the spectating. Well, it took Troutman some 60 kilometres to catch Ildefonso, and he's now pushing on. He's dropped Niederreiter. Ollie Simon is long gone, and Fraser Cartmel, his only competition. Those two are going to have some duel. 125 kilometres completed, and they come back towards the toughest part of the course. Through Narberth for the second time. 125 kilometres completed, as we saw, which means they've got 55 to go. It's still Funk of Germany who leads the women's race, but she's being closed down all the time. Amy Forshaw is coming and goes through past Funk, and now overtaking some of the age groupers who she's lapping, and still looking remarkably comfortable, as does Troutman of South Africa. Saundersfoot, the scene of many a brutal climb. This, of course, is Heartbreak Hill, and Cartmel looks as though he's going for a break, but he's misjudged that dreadfully. A lot of energy wasted there by Cartmel, but he goes again. Is this his decision to try and get away with some 40 kilometres remaining of the bike ride? Troutman isn't tempted to go with him, playing a patient game, the South African, but Cartmel pushing, flying past some of the age groupers who are a lap behind and thinking they're getting the applause. But it's Cartmel who the crowd are responding to. That is a decisive move, but if he hadn't chosen the wrong line at the bottom of the hill, I think he could have been a further 50 metres clear. Well, will he be able to make that decisive? He is now on his own. Cartmel still, remember, with just under 40 kilometres to go. And guess what? Troutman is back. He took the climb steady, but he's sitting comfortably behind Cartmel. These two having a fantastic duel. Well, it's certainly reminiscent of the good old days. Mark Allen, Dave Scott, perhaps the greatest duel in Ironman history, but this is turning out to be a similar race. Troutman now does his stint in front, and you can see the relative speeds between the pros and the age groupers. Twice the speed in the water, almost twice as fast on the bikes as well. The age groupers going for sub 17 hours. The pros, well, they'll be happy if they go sub 9.5. Carew Castle in the background, and of course the athletes going past Pembroke Castle as well. Stunning scenes. And here comes Richard Webster, who's still ahead of Andy Moore. He's been pushing hard on the bike and certainly developing a lot of respect for this sport.
Mentally it's tough, physically it's tough, and it's challenging, and obviously you can, there's not supposed to be contact in it, but you can challenge individually, and also you can challenge as a team, and it's so much fetch rugby back to me, without the black eyes and bruises.
Well, he may have got away with it, others didn't. Medina Kamanbayeva from Kazakhstan getting a taste of the Welsh sand, but she continued and completed. Matt Troutman, the leading man as he approaches T2. The bike ride nearly complete, all 112 miles of it. Plenty of support for the South African, and he'll need that, particularly on the last discipline. Remember, they go from the bike to the run, and it's a full marathon distance. Troutman leading, Cartmel in second, no one else in the picture at the moment. But which one of these two is going to conquer Ironman Wales? Welcome back to Ironman Wales. We're in the bike stage. Some of the age groupers halfway through. The leaders a lot further down the road. And there are hills galore in Pembrokeshire that they've had to go up and down over and over again. But phenomenal support around Tenby. It really is one of the great sporting events in the British Isles now. So the leaders approaching T2, 112 miles on the bike complete, and it's Matt Troutman of South Africa who's the first into the transition area, followed shortly by Scotland's Fraser Cartmel, who has tracked the South African inch by inch along the course. Troutman looking a little bit heavy as he heads out onto the run, checking over his shoulder to see where Cartmel is. He is not far behind. 11 seconds going into the transition. The gap just a little bigger, but Cartmel closing fast. And the two leaders once again together, stride for stride. Who saved the most on the bike? Well, that's almost impossible to answer. Little burst coming in from Cartmel. I think it's all due to the fact that there's a drink stop coming up and he wants to make sure that he gets the fluid.
Water, go!
Now, the fact that he can put in a burst is a good sign. The fact that he's desperate for fluid, perhaps not such a good sign. 2 gulps, that will do nicely. They need a drink every 20 minutes or so to maintain their strength. 42.2 kilometres, 26.2 miles either way, it is a long way, especially in this part of the world. Troutman looking very comfortable. Remember, he's only been doing triathlon of this level for 2 years. Started in 2012, shortly after the death of his father. But he's always been an endurance athlete, a whitewater paddler. He's a brilliant yachtsman as well. And he set his sights on getting on the podium at the IRONMAN World Championships. Here comes Amy Forshaw. Well, she is still flying in and out of the transition in no time at all. And she, at the moment, is looking for a time of around 10.5 to 11 hours. Depends how the run goes. And everything you need to know about Heike Funk you can read in her face. She is not happy at the moment. Well, the two leading men were stuck together for a long, long time, but at 28 kilometres, Matt Troutman decided to make a break, and metre by metre, he opened up the gap between himself and Cartmel, the Scotsman having no response, having run out of resources. These are painful times, and he still has 25 Ks to go. Ildefonso, well, he's moving, he is shifting. Is he going to challenge the podium positions today? Remember, he was the fastest in the water, lost a few places on the bike ride. Richard Webster, the first two disciplines completed, and this is the one that he's been dreading, the run. Remember, a recent knee operation. I'm sure his surgeon isn't too happy to see him here, but give him credit. 26.2 miles with crutches. That is going to be some test for the former flanker. Andy Moore, 2.5 minutes behind at the moment. It's the forward who leads.
You got a pretty good chance of catching him, haven't you?
You haven't seen me run.
Yeah, but you haven't got crutches for a start.
That's true, but I'm top effort for me. He's pretty strong on a bike, so yeah, no, happy to be here at this stage. Just see if I can find my legs now.
An 80-minute game of rugby seems blissfully short at this stage of an Ironman triathlon. So Andy Moore out onto the run, and he should get a glimpse of his opposition. There he is.
Oh, you just watch him running now with his crutches. It's just incredible. Just for him to finish would be amazing.
Still a competition?
No. He's a forward, I was a back.
Webster still going.
So do you know where Andy is? Behind me.
Perhaps not for long. Andy Moore is moving very nicely now that he's got into his run. And there he is. Andy Moore passes Richard Webster. He doesn't turn his head. Just a few words of encouragement, but energy has to be conserved at this stage. Fluid and food essential. Remember, they have until midnight. Well, it's not going to take Matt Troutman that long. He is just about complete. 4 laps of the run course now, and he breaks to his left, heads down towards the finish. Cartmel is well beaten, but the Scotsman has recovered well. He was in a bad state with 20 Ks to go, but he's back into his running, but no chance of catching Matt Troutman now. The South African is about to claim his first Ironman title, and he should do it in just over the 9-hour marker. 9 hours 5 minutes on the clock at the moment. The South Africans are out in numbers, and what a reception, an incredible reception for Matt Troutman into the finish here in Tembe. It's only his 4th Ironman, it's his first year as a pro. This man is going places.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, and it's an unbelievable feeling. It was an incredibly tough race. I was with guys, mainly Fraser. Yeah, we biked pretty much the whole way together. Lots of attacks, lots of surges. Yeah, that was tough.
Well, this is the only Ironman event in Great Britain that Cartmel hasn't won, and he's going to have to come back again next year.
Just kept creeping it up and ratcheting up, and just elastic finally snapped in the run about halfway through the third lap, so 25k, and look, better guy won today, so you know I can only do as well as I can, and I'm pretty sure I did, so second's good.
Well, it certainly is. Matt Troutman, very, very solid. 9:07.28. It's not as quick as he was sub 9 hours in Kona last year, but I think he's got an incredible future, as has Amy Forshaw. Very dominant on the run. She pulled away stride by stride from Funk, and no one else has been given a chance by Forshaw today. 1:08 in the water. It's a slow swim. She knew she'd be coming from behind, but she's done the job well. Great tactics.
Right from the beginning, the swim. Oh my God, that's the hardest swim I've ever done. I've never swam in sea like that before. The whole course is challenging. It's honest, it's definitely the hardest Ironman I've ever done.
Well, Funk may have faded, but Julia Byrne of Germany has come through well to claim second place. 11:20.54 her time. Very respectable indeed, and great running from Byrne. Third place goes to Amy Ogden, who was 13th in Wimbledon in the 70.3 last year. She's done brilliantly to get third. Jill Cliff in 4, and Sandra Fontana in 5th. Outstanding performances all round. An unbelievable support right the way round the entire course. It's worth doing this event just for that. Some of these triathletes just happy to finish, others desperate to qualify for the World Championships in Kona. And the first of the international rugby players to finish, it's Andy Moore.
Best sporting thing I've ever done in my life, and I still stand by that. Obviously I was very fortunate to play for Wales, part of a team environment, and that as a Welshman, nothing gives me more pride to put a Welsh jersey on, but as an individual effort to do this is incredible.
The emotions getting to even the hardest of men here in Tembe. And how about this? Richard Webster has crutched his way round 26.2 miles. He's made it his first Ironman. What an effort.
It's more likely the biggest sport achievement I've ever done in my life, you know. Lions, Wales, everything, that was special. The last time I seen the surgeon, he said you're on a downward slope and you're just going to get to the bottom and fall over, so this is for you, I didn't fall over, so.
Time is now moving on, and midnight approaches, which is the 17-hour cut-off for those who want to become Ironmen, and 50% of the field here in Tembe are first-time Ironman athletes. And the last man to cross the line before that 17-hour marker is Adam Parker from Fleetwood. He becomes an Ironman, and his dream, like so many others, comes true today at Ironman Wales.